Hi, everybody. So last time we were talking about the parts of blood, plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. And today we're going to focus in on white blood cells. White blood cells fight infection, fight pathogens. A pathogen is a virus or a bacterium that infects your body that causes disease. Okay, so what is it that fights disease? White blood cells. We call that an immune response. Now, your white blood cells are roving around inside your bloodstream all the time, and they can attack cells. Now, you don't want them to attack your own cells, right? That would be really bad. You do not want to destroy your own cells. So your white blood cells have to have a way of roving around and distinguishing your cells from pathogens, right? Only wants to attack pathogens. So you can think of your white blood cells as roaming around, and they look at all the proteins on your cells. You've got proteins sticking off of all your cells. And the white blood cells are going by, right? Like my white blood cells, and they look at one set of proteins. They're like, oh, those are Ms. Cohen-Norris proteins. Keep on going. They get to the next cell. Oh, Ms. Cohen-Norris proteins. I've seen those a million times. Keep on going. And every cell they go by, they're like, oh, I know these proteins. These are Ms. Cohen-Norris proteins. We're all good. And then one day, it comes across a virus. And on the outside of the virus are proteins it's never seen before. Wah, 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 right? The alarms go off. The white blood cells are like, I've never seen this protein before, and makes poisons that kill the pathogen. Now, these all parts have names, okay? And you need to know the names. The white blood cells make this thing that kills pathogens. Those are called antibodies. So these little Y-shaped things, these poisons that the white blood cells make that attack pathogens are called antibodies. And you don't want to make antibodies against your own cells because you would tear apart all your own cells and that wouldn't be good. Okay, so your white blood cells are making antibodies, but they have to be able to mark and notice something as a foreign invader and not your own cells. So the white blood cells have to go by all my cells and say, oh, that's a Ms. Cohen-Norris protein. I've seen that, and not attack it, and then encounter these foreign proteins and attack it. And they do that anytime there's a protein they don't recognize. They call that protein an antigen. So these little things sticking off the virus, those little triangle things, are the antigens. The entire thing is a virus. And you'll see the antibodies match up against the antigens by shape. So it takes a white blood cell a little time to learn how to make an antibody when they encounter a new virus with new antigens that they've never seen before. But they figure out how to make the right shaped antibody, and it will attack the pathogen and tear it apart or immobilize it in some way. So the important terms for you to know is that the white blood cells make antibodies. Your body's defense, your tool is the antibody. That's the good guy. The pathogen on its body has these little markers, these proteins that are unlike your own, that allow the white blood cell to recognize this is not a part of me. Those foreign proteins are called antigens, and the Regents loves to test the difference between antibodies and antigens. So you need to know antigens are what your white blood cells make to fight infection. Antigens are on the foreign invader. And I think I might have said that wrong. Just to be clear, white blood cells make antibodies. That is the part of that's the weapon you have to fight disease. And the tag on the disease is an antigen. And they have to fit by shape. So if you look at this antibody, which antigens here will it be able to attach? It can attach to this one and to this one, but it wouldn't be able to attack that one. So it's by shape, kind of like enzymes. Okay, so your white blood cells are making these antibodies to attack any foreign proteins that are unknown before. They're called antigens. And when you first encounter these foreign proteins, it takes a little while. That means that this virus can make you sick. It can do damage to all of your cells while your white blood cells are figuring out how to kill it. And then it manages to figure it out, starts making the antibodies, starts tearing it apart, starts killing the viruses, and you start to feel better. But that's why you can be sick for a while before you actually kick off the disease, knock it out, right? So It does take a little bit of time, but once you know how to make the antibodies against a particular virus and its antigens, you will generally know forever. So that's great. That means that when I had the chicken pox, when I was in my early 20s, and I had never had the chicken pox before, that virus came into me and made me feel lousy. It's probably the sickest I have ever been. And those chicken pox viruses were just wreaking havoc, damaging cells all over. But my white blood cells were learning how to make the antibodies against the chicken pox antigens. And now I will never get sick from chicken pox again because I know how to make those antibodies and I will know forever. So if the chicken pox virus comes into my body again, I will make antibodies against it and kill it before it has a chance to make me sick, which is why I'll only get chicken pox once. I actually could be infected with it over and over and over, but I won't get sick from it because I now know how to kill it before it makes me sick. So my immunity is now permanent. Now there's a couple of different ways you can get permanent immunity. You can get sick like I did, right? I got the chicken pox, boy, was I miserable, right? So you can be exposed to the disease. But another way you can do it is you can get a vaccination. Doctors have figured out how to trick your white blood cells. What if we could inject inside of you the virus? Would you learn how to make the antibodies? Sure. So if we infect you with the virus, we can teach you how to make the antibodies for the rest of your life. And you all got chickenpox vaccines when you were little kids, because by the time you were kids, we knew how to do that. We injected chickenpox into you so that you would learn to make the antibodies against it, so that you wouldn't get sick with it. Well, that sounds stupid, doesn't it? Why would you purposely inject viruses into somebody's body that should make them sick? Why didn't you get sick as a kid when we injected chickenpox into you? That's a virus. You should have gotten sick. So why didn't we? Why didn't you get sick? Because we killed the virus first. It still has little proteins all over it. Your white blood cells are still like, whoa, those are proteins I've never seen before, and start making antibodies against it and learn to make the antibodies and know how to forever. But the virus can't make you sick in the process because it is either dead or weakened. And so we are faking out the body by putting the virus in there, but it's just a dead virus that can't hurt you as you learn to make the antibodies for the rest of your life. That is called a vaccine. So let's take a look at the diagram. It's kind of a goofy diagram. It's one I drew a while ago, but it works. So I want you to imagine this is the bloodstream. This is one side of the blood vessel, and this is the other, and the blood is flowing through. Okay, and your cells along your blood vessel are body cells, and they have little proteins sticking off them. And here's a white blood cell, and the white blood cell is coming through, and it's like, oh, that's one of your proteins. I've seen that. I'm not going to attack that. Oh, I know that protein. That one's good. Keep going. And then comes across a foreign protein, like this little triangle. Wow, I've only seen these little circly things. The white blood cell says, I don't know this protein. I'm going to make antibodies against it, and makes these little antibodies which can attach to the antigens on the virus. That's how it works, right? So we have our white blood cell ignoring human proteins because they're yours, but seeing foreign proteins that it's never seen before, called an antigen, on an invading virus, and therefore making antibodies. Okay, that's how it works. Well, a vaccine is very, very similar, but instead of the virus accidentally coming into the body, we inject a dead virus or a weakened virus that's harmed, but it still has all the same antigens that a live virus has. And your white blood cells are like, whoa, those are proteins I've never seen before, and starts making antibodies and now knows how. And that's why you can get permanent immunity from a vaccine.